Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be filming the worst books that I read in 2020. As if 2020 wasn't a terrible enough year on its own, I also read some pretty terrible books this year. Because when you read close to 150 books in a year, you're bound to read a couple books that just absolutely suck. Today I'm going to tell you about the 9 shittiest books that I read in the entire year of 2020. And I do feel like I have to start these videos with a disclaimer saying that, you know, this video is not meant to be disrespectful towards any of these authors or towards anyone who enjoys these books. If you found some enjoyment in these books, then I am very happy for you, because I did not. I suffered. And I'm not here trying to tell you not to read these books. If you want to read these books, you do you. These are all just my personal opinions. So if you disagree, that's fine. But these are the worst books of the year for me. So today I'll be spilling the tea. This is water, but you get the point. So these are going to be in no particular order, by the way, but the one I'm going to start with is One by One by Ruth Ware, because this is a book that I had super high expectations for, because I really love The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. Is one of my all-time favorite books, and One by One was just such a disappointment. Like, not only because it's incredibly predictable, like I could literally predict who the killer is from like the first chapter of this book. We're following this company, right, that's going up to these mountains on like their company little vacay thing. Because it's the company that's going, there's so much talk about their company and their like stock and their shares, and it's a lot of like the business side of things. It's kind of ridiculous how much their company is discussed in this book. Like, it's supposed to be like a murder mystery thriller, and like it is, but it's also so incredibly boring. Like, they do not shut up about like their company's shares and like how much money their company's gonna be making and like blah 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 blah. It's just incredibly annoying and frustrating when I'm just trying to read a like fun mystery thriller and they're just badgering me with this business jargon constantly. I couldn't care less about their company, honestly. I just couldn't care less. It just kind of bored me to tears, if I'm being honest. And I also didn't really like the final third act of this book. I thought it was really cheesy. It's supposed to be kind of like action-packed and like crazy, but I just thought it was so cheesy and boring still. Another book that's one of my least favorite thrillers of the entire year is The Other Woman by Sandy Jones. I feel like this book is just such a cliche, predictable thriller. And if you didn't know anything about what this book is about, the other woman that it's referring to is this guy's mom. So we're following this girl who's either in a relationship or married to this guy, I don't even remember. And then his mom is like super clingy and protective and like trying to get them to break up, I guess. And so the entire like premise of this thriller is that this mom is trying to like meddle with their relationship. It's just really annoying and frustrating to deal with, and I don't really find that to be a very interesting thriller topic, and I don't really think that that in itself is a thriller or like enough of a plot to be considered a thriller. I don't know, I just thought this book was so freaking bad, and I guess I just realized that about myself, is that I hate thrillers that follow like a mother-in-law character trying to be annoying. Like, it's just one of my least favorite thriller tropes. Another one of my least favorite thrillers of this year is Never Have I Ever. This book, oh god, I don't even know. I think, okay, part of the problem is definitely me, because I realized about myself this year is that I don't like thrillers where blackmailing is the main thrilling thing happening in a book. Like, I could not care less. And I guess I just went into this book with the wrong idea, because like this book kind of markets itself as like, oh, it's this group of moms like in a suburban town, and then this one girl comes to the book club and she like starts to create drama and like mess things up for their group when they play this Never Have I Ever game together. And it sounded so intriguing, and it compared itself to Big Little Lies, and there was just so much potential for this book, but it ended up being so boring and one-dimensional and like basic. It just turned into this stupid blackmailing story like the entire time. And then the ending definitely had some really like disturbing, weird things that I was pretty uncomfortable with, and I just didn't feel like the story needed all that. I mean, maybe it did, I don't know, it was so fucking boring, but either way, it was just not good. It wasn't good. Another one of my least favorite books of the year is Bent Heavens by Daniel Cross. This is one that I read because it was recommended to me when I did the video of like that website TBR recommended me 3 different book recommendations. So I read it for that video. Oh my god, this was just absolute garbage. They basically recommended it to me because they said that even though it was young adult, they told me it read like an adult novel, which is definitely false. They thought I would like it because it's an alien kind of novel, but with a contemporary setting. Because I said one of my favorite things in books is contemporary books, but with an alien aspect in them, or like some kind of sci-fi aspect, but in a mostly contemporary setting. And so they recommended me this book, and while I understand the recommendation, I guess, because it does sound like something I would enjoy, this book was nothing like it marketed itself to be. It was one of the most young adult novels that I've ever read, so I don't know what the hell they're talking about with that. And it's just the fact that this book was written by a man, and it's told from the point of view of a teenage girl, and he makes her one of the weakest teenage girls I've ever read about. Like, she's constantly talking about how she doesn't want to do anything difficult because she doesn't want to break a nail or whatever, and she like looks up to this guy as like her hero in this book, like, yes, be my hero, save me because I'm a damsel in distress, all the time, constantly. She never does anything for herself, and it's like really freaking irritating that this book is written by this man. Like, what are you kidding me? And not to mention, on top of the like very shitty female representation in this book, there's also, you know, nothing interesting happening in the plot. One of my worst books that I read this year that I didn't even have the stomach to finish is Mr. Mercedes by Stephen King. And I know I'm probably gonna get a lot of heat for this one, but I didn't hate this one for the story and like the plot, which I know is like, okay, then what's the point? Like, why did you even put it on here? But it's because of the way that this book was written, and the characters in this book that are supposed to be likable are just so unlikable. I mean, maybe they're not supposed to be likable. I don't really know what Stephen King's intentions are with this book, but basically my issue with this book is that this man in this book, we're reading from this detective's point of view, I don't even remember what his name is, but the way he talks about women in this book is just so disturbing. For, you know, this guy is like 50 or 60 years old, and he has to describe every single woman that he sees. He has to describe her body in the most like vulgar terms, and describe her boob size, and describe her waist, and like he just sexualizes every single woman he comes across, and like, I'm not even joking, it's disgusting. And I just like, it just really rubbed me the wrong way, because this is our main character. This is someone that we're supposed to be on board with. Like, he's supposed to be the one that's going out and capturing Mr. Mercedes, like the bad guy. And then don't even get me started on the bad guy in this book, because he's, you know, dropping the N-word left and right, which is just not okay. Like, I know Stephen King definitely is a problematic author, and he definitely has a lot of books where he's used the N-word in the past, but this book came out in 2014. Like, I just feel like there's no reason for this book to be written in this way. Not that there's ever not that there ever has been a reason for books to be written that way, but like, especially in 2014, like in recent years, it was just really frustrating and really irritating. And serial killer dude, Mr. Mercedes, the way that he describes his mother, he's always like talking about her panties and shit, and it was just so disturbing and so sick. And I know like we're not supposed to like him, I know that, but it was too much. I couldn't take the men in this book. Like, no, I'm not doing it. And then, you know, why not talk about another Stephen King book on this list while we're at it? Because Dr. Sleep is one of my least favorite books that I read this year. If I wasn't reading this book for a vlog that I was doing, I would have definitely DNF'd this pretty early on probably. But because I love The Shining so much, I was like, I just need to power through this book. Like, I just want to know Danny Torrance's fate. And my god, let me tell you, if you're curious, this book is a total fucking waste of time. It's so boring. It's like over 500 pages of the same bullshit over and over and over again. And then he kind of gets into this situation with this young girl named Abra, and it was kind of interesting at that point. It was just such a slow book, and I just did not care at all. I'm not a huge fan of reading about cults. Like, they're just not something that really interests me a whole lot, to be honest. That aspect of the book was definitely boring as fuck to me. I just didn't really care. I just didn't like it. It was just one of my least favorite things I read this year, and I honestly wish I would have DNF'd this. Another one of my least favorite books of the year is Wonderland by Zoj Stage. I know that I should probably just give up on this author, you know, because last year I had Baby Teeth on my worst of the year list, so clearly me and this author just do not vibe. But the main reason why I wanted to give her another chance and read this book is because of the way this book was marketed. This book literally said, if Shirley Jackson wrote The Shining, we would have Wonderland. And I was like, what on earth? Like, that was the most intriguing thing to me in the world. So I read it, and it was garbage. I mean, we're basically just following this family who goes off to these woods, and I guess because the dad starts acting all weird and shit, they think they can compare it to The Shining just because of that, and because it definitely has this like isolated woods atmosphere. And I will admit, the atmosphere in the book was pretty decent. Like, it was okay. Like, I liked the atmosphere. It was kind of dark and spooky, but then quickly it just became annoying and repetitive. I feel like I always have the same issues with her books, is that they're so repetitive and the story doesn't go anywhere. I had the same exact issue with Baby Teeth, in the sense that the same scenes just kind of keep happening over and over and over again, just in slightly different ways, and I just found it to be so incredibly dull. And not to mention, in this book, her daughter's name is Eleanor Queen. You know, you think they would give her a nickname or something like Ellie or Eleanor, but no, it's Eleanor Queen, and she says Eleanor Queen every single time she mentions her daughter, and she calls her by name every single time she mentions her. And I listened to the audiobook for this on double speed and it was really, really annoying. Like, I'm not even kidding you how many times she says this girl's name 50 times in the same chapter. She's like, Eleanor Queen, Eleanor Queen, Eleanor Queen. Oh my god, it was driving me fucking nuts. So yeah, this one was not for me, and I don't think I'm gonna plan to pick up any of this author's books in the future. The only romance book that made it onto my list of the worst books of the year is Credence by Penelope Douglas. And I'm kind of sad that this one's on here, like, not gonna lie, because I really, really love Birthday Girl by this author. And then this book, I heard some kind of like controversial things about this one, and I was like, okay, whatever, let's give it a go. I DNF'd it about 50% of the way through it because I cannot. This book is following this young girl who both of her parents die, and so she has to go and live with, it's not her uncle, but it's an uncle-like figure in her life and his two sons. And then she kind of gets into a romantic relationship with all three of them. And I think the main reason why I didn't like it is because one of the love interests in this book, and I think it's the one you're supposed to be rooting the most for, his name is Caleb, and he is a complete and total douchebag, psychopath, almost low-key rapist, and we're supposed to be like shipping it and thinking it's so cute, even though he's disgusting and aggressive and rude. And yet we're supposed to be like, oh my god, but so sweet on the inside somewhere deep in there that we never see. I don't know what it is with these types of characters. He's definitely like, you know, the Christian Grey type, like the type of guy that's supposed to be like a complete and total asshole to her, but we're supposed to like give him time to open up. And of course, you know, there's a scene right in the beginning when they first meet where he nearly rapes her. Like, he nearly fucking rapes her because he just has all of these urges that he can't control. And we're supposed to be like, oh my god, how cute, how romantic. He's so sexually attracted to her that he can't even control himself. Like, no, fuck that. All right, and then the last book that I have on this list, that I was debating putting this book on my worst of the year list or my most disappointing of the year list, because I do feel like it really does fit onto both, and I was really debating on putting it in my most disappointing because this was one of the biggest disappointments of the year for me, but it was just such a letdown and so bad that I feel like it has to be on my worst of the year, and that is Survivor Song by Paul Tremblay. You have no idea how much it breaks my heart that this book is on my worst of the year list, because I had such high hopes for this. I bought this book full price hardcover. Like, that is saying a lot because hardcover new release books are fucking expensive, and I thought this was gonna be one of my new favorite books. I have since unhauled it, if you're wondering. But god, it's about an apocalypse. There's a virus, right? That's like this rabies-like virus, and it spreads really quickly, and as soon as you get the virus, like you contract the virus, you start showing symptoms within an hour. And you know, this was pretty terrifying to read during a pandemic, like, not gonna lie, like it probably wasn't the best time to read it, but also this book doesn't really give you any of that it promises on. I feel like this book was just marketed completely wrong, and that's why it's doing this book such a disservice, because I feel like what the book said it's about, I feel like this story is almost just like a prologue to what the book said it would be. It was just such a letdown. Like, everything that I thought this book was gonna do, it didn't even get there. Like, I feel like this entire story is like the journey to where, by the time like where this book ends, I thought that would be like the takeoff point of the story. And I just feel like there's so much potential for this universe in this book. Like, I'm really interested in this world that Paul Tremblay has built for these characters and in this book, but nothing fucking happens in this book, and it's so frustrating because like it's definitely more of a character book, like it's more of a character study with the apocalypse kind of happening around them. I don't even know, dude. I was just so disappointed by this. Like, I thought this would be one of my favorites of the year. I also just absolutely hated the ending of this book. I hated the way it ended. I thought it could redeem itself, but it didn't. it just got more annoying. So those are all of my worst books of 2020. It really breaks my heart that so many of these books were on here because I went into them with such high expectations, especially One by One and Survivor Song. Like, I genuinely thought those would be on my favorites of the year list, so pretty devastating. But please let me know what your thoughts are on these books. Are some of these books also some of your worst books of the year, or do you think I'm being way too much of a dramatic picky bitch, and do you enjoy some of these books? Because if you do, that's totally fine, and I'm honestly genuinely happy for you. But there's gotta be some books that are on your worst books of the year, so please let me know what they are. What books do you think are the worst of 2020? And thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you can very soon expect more videos from me, like my most disappointing books of the year, possibly my most surprising books of the year, and definitely my best books of the year coming very soon. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye.